Jai Gurudev. Today we are diving deep into Rajshree Patel's recent commentary on the first three chapters of the Bhagwat Gita and exploring its resonance with the teachings of His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji. Rajshree, as a devoted faculty member of the Art of Living, offers a unique perspective. Can you share some insights from her talk? Absolutely, Rajshree's commentary is profound and tackles key concepts that are incredibly relevant today. She emphasizes the question of what we are feeding in ourselves. Are you feeding the darkness or the freedom? This idea of self inquiry is pivotal. She challenges us to consider whether we are truly teaching ourselves or merely projecting onto others. It is a reminder that our actions and intentions must align. That's interesting. She mentioned the difficulty of serving others while trying to grow ourselves. Can you elaborate on that? Yes, Rajshri points out the common struggles we face. It is often easier to focus on our own needs while instructing others. However, the true essence of growth lies in serving others while simultaneously elevating ourselves. This echoes Gurudev's teachings on selflessness and the importance of community service, where helping others also nurtures our own spiritual journey. Rajshri also spoke about the tricky nature of the mind. How does this connect to the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita? She discussed how our tendencies can drive us into unawareness, stating, tendencies drive our unawareness. This concept resonates deeply with Arjuna's dilemma in the Gita, where ignorance of the true nature of self leads to confusion. Gurudev often highlights that self awareness is crucial for overcoming ignorance. Rajshri's assertion that we often look back and question, how could I not have known, reflects the struggles we face when we act out of ignorance rather than clarity. She posed some deep questions about the self. What was her perspective on understanding the small self versus surrendering to the universe? Rajshri urges balance between introspection and acceptance. She asks, who are we referring to when we say me? This inquiry leads to recognizing that our idea of self is just a collection of thoughts. Gurudev teaches that the journey inward is essential, but so is the surrender to a higher power. Rajshri seems to advocate for a middle path, self inquiry paired with a recognition of the larger universe at play. That's a powerful message. She also discussed the subtleties of responsibility and ownership in our actions. What insights did she provide? Ratri highlighted the importance of clarity and transparency in our intentions. She pointed out how people often set up excuses in advance, which can stem from insecurity. By acknowledging this tendency, we can take more authentic actions without the fear of failing or self image. This aligns with Gurudev's teaching about living authentically and embracing responsibility for our choices without the burden of ego. It sounds like both Ratri and Gurudev emphasize the necessity of honesty with oneself. Did she provide any specific reflections on Arjuna's situation that illustrate this? Yes, she illustrated how Arjuna's initial reluctance to fight stems from a lack of clarity and ownership of his feelings. Ratri pointed out that if Arjuna had openly expressed his doubts to his mentor, the entire narrative might have changed. This mirrors Gurudev's teaching that direct communication and honesty in our relationships are crucial for spiritual growth. Finally, how does Rajshri's discussion encourage us to move forward in our spiritual practice? Rajshri inspires us to engage in continuous self examination while remaining committed to serving others by feeding our inner freedom rather than darkness. We not only uplift ourselves but also those around us. His commentary serves as a reminder that every action taken with clarity and sincerity contributes to a larger purpose, reflecting Gurudev's vision of a compassionate and awakened society. Thank you for sharing these insights. It is clear that Rajshri's interpretations of the Bhagavad Gita offer profound guidance for our personal and spiritual journeys, transforming and harmonizing beautifully with Gurudev's timeless teachings. Jai Gurudev, and thank you for joining us today. We are here to discuss Rajshri Patel's recent talk on the first three chapters of the Bhagavad Gita and how it aligns with the commentary of His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji. To start, can you summarize the key points Rajshri made during her talk? Absolutely, Rajshri highlighted the profound nature of the battlefield in the Bhagavad Gita, emphasizing that it is not merely a physical war but a deep familial conflict, a family feud between cousins, the Pandavas and the Kauravas. She pointed out that every character in this narrative has their own vendetta, driven by personal motives rather than a genuine sense of dharma or righteousness. That's intriguing. How did she illustrate the motivations of key players like Bhishma and others? Rajshri explained that each character, including Bhishma, is motivated by personal attachment and past vows. For instance, Bhishma stands with Arjuna not solely out of loyalty to the Pandavas, but because of his vow to protect the throne, which complicates this sense of duty. She remarked that everyone involved has a me and mine mentality. This ego can cloud their judgment and prevent them from seeing the larger picture. How did she relate these concepts to our everyday lives? Rajshree urged the audience to reflect on their own lives. She asked how much of our actions are driven by the ego or the need to prove ourselves. She emphasized that true clarity comes when we assess our motivations without comparing ourselves to others. When we look to outside for validation, we lose touch with our inner desires and true self. That aligns closely with Gurudev's teachings, doesn't it? Yes, indeed, Gurudev often speaks about the need to transcend the ego and understand the deeper connections in life. His commentary on the Bhagavad Gita reinforces the idea of acting from a place of wisdom and clarity rather than from personal vendettas. Both Rajshree and Gurudev emphasize that true dharma comes from selflessness and understanding one's role in the greater scheme of things. What specific insights did Rajshree offer about Bhishma's loyalty and his implications? She pointed out that Bhishma's loyalty, while admirable, stems from an attachment to his vow rather than a commitment to dharma. This raises an essential question. Is it better to stick to one's word at the expense of what is right for the greater good? If Bhishma had acted in the interest of the kingdom rather than clinging to his vow, the war could have unfolded differently. This illustrates how our attachments can lead to conflict and suffering. That's a powerful takeaway. Did Rajshree mention anything about the impact of comparison on our decision making? Yes, sir, she highlighted that comparison leads to dissatisfaction. When we start a journey by looking at others, we lose sight of our authentic desires. She encouraged the audience to cultivate self awareness, asking ourselves what we genuinely want, independent of societal expectations or peer pressure. How does this resonate with Gurudev's teachings? Gurudev emphasizes the importance of inner peace and self discovery. He often teaches that the quest for happiness should come from within, not from external validation. Both Rajshree and Gurudev advocate for understanding our motivations and aligning them with our higher purpose rather than getting trapped in ego driven comparisons. In conclusions, what do you believe is the key message from Rajshree's talk that can inspire us today? The key message is about awareness, being conscious of our motivations, breaking free from ego, and recognizing the interconnectedness of all actions. By focusing on what truly matters to us, we can navigate life's challenges with clarity and purpose, just as Gurudev teaches. It is a call to reflect deeply on our actions and strive for a higher understanding of our roles in this complex tapestry of life. Thank you for sharing these insights. It is a profound reminder of the timeless wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita and its relevance in our lives today. Jai Gurudev, and thank you for joining us today. We are excited to delve into Rajshree Patel's recent talk on the first three chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, especially in light of His Holiness Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankarji's commentary. To start, could you summarize Rajshree's main point? Absolutely, Rajshree's insights offer a deep understanding of the human condition. Through the lens of the Gita, she emphasized that both Arjuna and Duryodhan, despite being raised as princes and having the same training, represent different responses to crisis. Duryodhan, burdened by arrogance, is unyielding and seeks to manipulate situations, like relying on Bhishma's boon of death at will, while Arjuna's reflection reflects contemplation and moral questioning. That's a fascinating contrast. Rajshree mentioned that Duryodhan's mind operates differently because he doesn't question right or wrong. How does that relate to Gurudev's teachings? Gurudev often speaks about the nature of the mind and how it can lead us astray if left unchecked. Rajshree pointed out that Duryodhan's arrogance and refusal to question his choices mirrors how our minds can tap us in limited thinking. In contrast, Arjuna's inner turmoil and contemplation signify a deeper quest for truth which aligns with Gurudev's teachings on self inquiry and understanding one's own motivations. That's interesting. Rajshree also talked about the significance of Bhishma in the narrative. Could you elaborate on that? Yes, Bhishma plays a critical role as the grand patriarch who represents loyalty and duty. Rajshree highlighted how he rallies the Kauravas while also embodying the wisdom of experience. Gurudev reflects that this by illustrating how we often have to navigate our loyalties and duties, which can create internal conflicts. The emphasis is on understanding these dynamics rather than merely acting out of obligation. Rajshree mentioned that both Arjuna and Duryodhana have the same upbringing, yet react so differently. How does this apply to our lives today? This is a powerful reminder that our responses to life's challenges are influenced by our inner states and conditioning. Rajshree compared this to a daily crisis. whether personal, familial, or professional. Gurudev emphasizes that while we may face similar external situations, the inner landscape we cultivate determines the reactions. It encourages us to be mindful and deliberate in our choices, just as Arjuna learns to be. She also discussed the importance of accepting people as they are, linking it back to our inner battles. Can you explain this further? Absolutely. Rajshree pointed out that our biggest conflicts often arise within ourselves and in our relationships with those closest to us. By accepting others as they are, we reduce our internal battles. Gurudev often speaks about the power of acceptance and how it liberates us from expectations, allowing for a more peaceful coexistence, an idea deeply rooted in the Gita's teachings on non attachment and understanding. Finally, how do you see Rajshree's interpretations echoing Gurudev's message of contradictions within the Gita? Both Rajshree and Gurudev highlight that the Bhagavad Gita is a complex dialogue full of contradictions that reflect the intricacies of life itself. Just as Gurudev notes that each verse may seem to contradict the previous one, Rajshree encourages us to see these contradictions as essential steps in understanding our own dilemmas. It is a reminder that growth often comes from grappling with conflicting ideas, much like Arjuna does throughout the text. Thank you for sharing these insights. It is clear that both Rajshree and Gurudev provide profound wisdom on navigating life's complexities through the teachings of the Gita. Thank you. It is a joy to explore these timeless teachings and see their relevance in our lives today. Jai Gurudev, and thank you for joining us today. We are here to discuss Rajshree Patel's insightful commentary on the first three chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, particularly how it resonates with the teachings of His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankar Ji. Can you elaborate on Rajshree's main points? Absolutely, Rajshree's commentary offers a profound exploration of Arjuna's inner conflict as he stands on the battlefield, emphasizing the emotional and spiritual turmoil that he experiences. She highlights the pivotal moment when Arjuna, realizing the stakes, his family, his kingdom, and his own dharma, decides to seek Krishna's guidance. Right, she mentioned that Arjuna asks Krishna to place his chariot between the two armies. What significance does this hold in her interpretation? This act is crucial. Rachi points out that it symbolizes a moment of self reflection and awareness. In the face of impending battle, Arjuna chooses to pause and gain clarity. She beautifully articulates how this mirrors our own lives, where we often find ourselves at a crossroads, pulled in different directions by life circumstances. She also discusses the theme of divine guidance, correct? Yes, she elaborates on the idea that life has a way of guiding us, even when she may not understand the reasons behind our choices. Rajshri emphasizes that just like Arjuna, we often see clarity amidst the chaos, and that is a divine intervention at play. This echoes His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankar Ji's teachings on surrendering to the flow of life, trusting that there is a higher purpose. How does she address the psychological aspect of Arjuna's hesitation? Rajshri dives deep into Arjuna's despair, noting that while Duryodhan and his forces are unbothered, it is Arjuna, the seeker, who grapples with doubt and fear. This transition from ignorance to awareness is a painful yet necessary journey. She compares it to the experience of waking up from a comfortable slumber into a reality filled with challenges. That's a striking analogy. And what about her thoughts on actions versus inaction? She discusses how Arjuna's initial reluctance symbolizes her own fears of taking action when faced with difficult choices. Rajshri reflects on the human tendency to rationalize action inaction, yet she stresses the importance of moving forward towards, much like Gurudev teaches about embracing action as a path to clarity and growth. Did she mention any specific words that stood out in her talk? Yes, she highlighted several key verses where Arjuna expresses his internal conflict. For example, when he questions the morality of fighting against his own king, it illustrates the deep ethical dilemmas we face in our lives today. Rajshri's interpretations encourage listeners to reflect on their own battles and the righteousness of their choices. How does Rajshri connect her insights back to everyday life? She adeptly relates Arjuna's struggles to modern life, suggesting that everyone experiences moments of doubt and moral quandaries. By recognizing these moments as opportunities for growth, we can cultivate a deeper understanding of our own paths. This perspective aligns closely with Gurudev's philosophy of living with awareness and purpose. Lastly, what do you think is the overarching message Rajshri conveys through her commentary? The essence of her message is about embracing the journey of self discovery amidst chaos. Just as Arjuna moves from confusion to clarity, We too are encouraged to confront our fears and trust in a higher guidance. Rajshree's insights inspire a commitment to personal growth, reminding us that every challenge is a stepping stone on the path to realization. Thank you for sharing these profound insights about Rajshree Patel's commentary and its connections with Gurudev's teachings. It truly offers a rich perspective on the timeless wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita. Jai Gurudev.